Oras alas 11 ng
Ito ang Broad Streamcast Communicators, ang naiba at kakaibang plataforma sa digital broadcast. Mula Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao hanggang sa iba't ibang dako ng mundo. Broad Streamcast Communicators, ang sandigan ng sambayanan mula sa walang labis at walang kulang na pagbabalita, paglilingkod, maglalahad ng mga mapagbuong komentaryo at usaping pambayan para sa kapakanan ng karamihan. Broad Streamcast Communicators, tuwirang maglilingkod ngayon hanggang sa susunod na henerasyon. Buhay Online, chikahan at kaalamang pangkabuhayan. Ating tunghayan, pakinggan at tuklasin ang mga pangyayari at kaganapan sa mundo ng online. Buhay Online, chikahan at kaalamang pangkabuhayan. Alamin ang pinaka-latest trends mula sa trabaho at kung hanggang saan na ang narating ng teknolohiyang ito. At ngayon, narito na ang ating host, ang ating TechieMommy, si Jaye C. Bautista.
Hello everyone, magandang umaga po. Happy Friday sa lahat. Kaya nga, Friday na naman. Napakabilis, bilis ng oras at ng araw, right? It's already June 4, the day of our Lord, 2021. And talaga namang, sometimes talaga it's unbelievable na we're already we're already on to half of this year, the 2021, right? At lampas na ng isang taon itong pandemic situation. That's right. It's like 6 months, a year. We're already 6 months into this new year ng pandemya, right? And napakabilis kasi parang kahapon lang, kaka-New Year pa lang, kaka-Chinese New Year pa lang ulit at kaka-anniversary pa lang nitong COVID-19 pandemic. Pero, my goodness, wala, kalahati na yung taon, right? And of course, ganito pa rin ang situation natin and sad to say it has not gotten better, right? Oo, bumababa ng konti yung mga infections, right? But still, it's still there spreading. Siyempre, we're all hopeful na dahil sa pagbabakuna, andyan na yung vaccine, we can accomplish a herd immunity community para mag-flatten yung curve, right? Magandang umaga sa mga for those joining us today. Hindi ko na naman nakikita yung pangalan, so I will just acknowledge it later. Of course, after I see it, which is actually after the broadcast. Hindi umaakit yung names kasi I don't know why. Maybe if it's my computer or it's Facebook. But anyway, so going back to the topic of the pandemic and the life that we have in the pandemic, and now we're going through it this year, half na ng year, pinapag-usapan natin kung ano yung mga nangyari from last year, how it affected us, okay, sa trabaho. And isa sa mga pinaka-hardest hit na sector ng community is of course yung education, yung pag-aaral ng ating mga anak, right? And ito, I have some news, okay, to share, okay, kasi ito bago pa lang, recent. And this is about online education or the education system. This is based on an article that came out in Manila Bulletin, all right? Just 3 days ago, okay? Flexible learning as the new norm. Yeah, of course, we know that now, distance learning, online learning through modules, okay, this is the new normal of education now. But sabi sa article na ito ng Manila Bulletin, okay, according to J. Albert Gamboa, a columnist sa Manila Bulletin, ang aking dyaryo, which I I was a columnist for 9 years as TechieMommy, right? And I'm still a contributing columnist. Medyo sa mga nowadays lang kasi napaka-busy, right? Hindi ako nakakapag-contribute much, but because I'm giving my contribution nowadays, of course, through Broad Streamcast Communicators. Maraming salamat sa opportunity. Okay? So, going back to this article, flexible learning as the new norm, no? Sabi ni J. Albert Gamboa, colleagues and universities in the Philippines will not go back anymore to the old normal of face-to-face classes. Parang ganyan din eh, sinabi natin sa pagtatrabaho eh, right? Yung education then. According to Commission on Higher Education ng CHED, Chairman Prospero de Vera, the national government agency that oversees tertiary schools recently adopted a policy to further pursue the implementation of flexible learning in school year 2021 to 2022 and beyond. Okay? Of course, understandable naman kung bakit nila yung sinasabi, right? Because nga, of course, not only is it working, all right, this is a Manila Bulletin article, came out June 3, 2021. Okay? Ba't nila yung sinasabi? Because it's okay while it's working now because yan lang ang ating situation na kailangan. We can actually, for me, I can see the possibility of blended learning pero hindi yung totally online learning lang because yun na nga di ba? Nagkaroon ng epekto yan psychologically at sa mga bata, sa mga estudyante. Okay, so balikan natin tong article ni Mr. Gamboa. Okay, sabi niya, yung CHED is adopting a policy to further pursue the implementation of flexible learning. Ayun, flexible learning as in sometimes merong online, sometimes wala, right? Not only would a return to full-pack traditional classrooms expose millions of educational stakeholders to the same risks when another pandemic occurs, diba? The CHED will also be wasting its investments in technology, teacher training, and retrofitting of facilities that have been accomplished during the COVID-19 era. So yun ang kanilang ang mas concern nila, of course, yung ginastos at ininvestan ng mga gadgets, ng mga technology, right? Yung paglipat ng curriculum na lang, o pag-train sa mga teachers na lang to be online teachers, right? Tingnan niyo itong mga, itong itsura ng mga online teachers, right? Look at this one. Okay? Yan sa mga bata, right? So I'll delve more into that a little bit later. So going back to what Ched is saying, that maybe in the future they will adapt a blended kind of learning, right? Flexible learning, okay? So since March 2020, in-person classes have been banned as a precaution against the coronavirus spread. The more prepared universities will continue investing and moving ahead using online platforms, okay? Others will be allowing some of their students to come back at specific periods and do more synchronous versus asynchronous learning. Yun na nga yan, blended learning ito. Tsaka makakatulong din of course yan sa traffic situation. Pero hindi, okay, I'm all for that kasi, ayun, naiintindihan ko, tsaka feasible talaga yan. Pero of course, yung nangyari sa atin buong taon na online learning, yun ang medyo nagkaroon ng problema sa psychological makeup ng mga nag-aaral, right? My own son included. So, magandang balita yan, magandang plano yan talaga kung blended. Some days, you can work, you can study from home, right? And of course, and most days, dapat nasa campus pa rin, right? Sabi ni Gamboa, both students and faculty members are able to adjust to flexible learning better now than before, De Vera said. Okay, that's right. A year going further along in this pandemic, siguro naman adjusted na ang estudyante at teacher, right? Indeterminate, yun lang, no? Yung pag-grade system last year, ulit-ulit ko sinasabi, yung pinasa na lang yung anak ko at saka yung mga estudyante, binigyan ng P na grade, passing, wala ngang number yung grade kasi parang they didn't want to fail anybody nung pandemya. They just passed them even if they didn't attend the classes, right? Well, In determining how to grade students, sabi ni Gamboa, there will be a transition from the old exam-based system that depended on knowledge creation to the new task-based systems focusing on projects and group work where textbooks will no longer be the sole source of knowledge. Pero yun na nga, internet nga yung source nila, di ba? Google is my friend. At saka, okay, online library ng school. Pero naisisingil sa'yo na pwede ka naman talagang ang daming library sa buong mundo na pwede mong uh, kakuhanan ng information for free, right? Anyway, CHED is urging all academic institutions to vaccinate their frontline workers against COVID-19. Ayun na nga, dapat yung mga teachers din, kung mag-open ng school, dapat nakabakuna na lahat, right? Some of their campuses are being used either as quarantine facilities or vaccination sites. During a recent meeting between CHED and the Union of Local Authorities sa Pilipinas, 17 higher education institutions nationwide offered their school properties as inoculation centers to be manned by local government units. Oo nga, talaga. Mga eskwela, mga gymnasium, yan ang ginagawang pabakunahan. Para mabakunahan na ang karamihan, if not lahat, right? Okay, talk about footprint expansion, okay? On a recent road trip that took the author, Mr. Gamboa, across multiple boundaries of Cavite and Batangas provinces, he saw a novel residential development along the Tagaytay-Nasugbu Buhay Highway, okay? It turned out to be the Batulao project of First Park Homes Incorporated, PPHI, a joint venture between Philippine Stock Exchange-listed Century Properties Group and Japanese conglomerate Mitsubishi Corporation. Okay? Since its launch in 2018, PPHI has developed 7 communities with more than 9,000 housing units in central Luzon and Calabarzon regions, okay? These are located in the emerging urban areas of Tanza, Cavite, Lipa City, Batangas, San Pablo City, Laguna, Pandi, Bulacan, Calamba City, Laguna, Nasugbu, Batangas, and Magalang, Pampanga, okay? All right? This year, ang PPHI is set to launch 4 more projects sa Luzon that collectively will have almost 7,000 units with a sales value of 14.3 billion. Okay, this expansion is on the back of a resilient, affordable housing market last year, despite the pandemic. Okay, throughout ng 2020, okay, we saw an uptick in sales from local and OFW buyers who are looking for safe, secure, and well-located homes for their families. Sabi ng PPHI Vice President Lauren Sales. Okay. Having captured the first home market in the regions adjoining Metro Manila through its master plan communities, the new projects will give more options north and south of NCR to neophyte home buyers. Okay, all right? So yan, no? Yan ang tungkol sa footprint ng expansion ng mga lugar, right? Pero of course, mas marami nagkaroon na pa rin ng mga investments sa real estate itong pandemya. Pero like I said nga, yung mga eskwelahan dahil sarado, you know, some schools are offering for their places to be places for inoculation para bumilis-bilis ang proseso ng pagbabakuna. So, yan ang news dyan about online studies in the Philippines, okay? Like the analysts say, they foresee na mangyayari pa rin to, right? Pagkatapos ng pandemya na magkakaroon ng blended learning or flexible learning, right? Yeah, like I said, ano naman yun it's feasible. Pero hindi yung talagang lahat lang online. Ako, maraming magda-drop out, maraming hindi na lang mag-aaral. Kasi nga, iba, hindi na ma-motivate, right? Yung feeling nila hindi eskwela yung pinapasukan nila, right? Okay. So, going back to what I was talking about yesterday, and let's wrap it up today. Of course, yan ang new normal where our kids are studying online. or doing distance learning at the same time, doing modular education sa Pilipinas, and also yung iba sa China and other countries, they're studying through TV and radio. Okay? I'm going to continue yung tips, okay, kung how uh, to be effectively studying online. Pero, okay, I also want to talk about yung because of this, meron bang crisis dito sa Philippines ng education? Okay, in a way kasi parang nag, because nga ang bilis ng naging transition, hindi pa ready, right? Nagkaroon ng iba-ibang situation na mahirap, right? Like nung March, okay, there was a news, okay, sa Asian Post, okay, ASEAN Post ito lumabas, okay. Sabi nila, is the Philippines is there a crisis in education in the Philippines, right? See, we're talking about the world, but of course specifically, let's talk about our country, right? Um, ito, ito yung tungkol dito sa, okay, online, online education pa rin, right? There you go. Yung pinakita ko kanina, ito yung teacher, alright? Magtuturo online, alright? Okay. Okay. This was an article that came out, okay, in ASEAN Post, written by Afira Norta Judin, okay? Asian country to, okay? Diba? This is a teacher using a whiteboard that speaks in front of a computer with her students through online distance learning, right? Yan ang eksena na common sa pag-online. Kunyari, no, yung sabi niya sa story, currently in a dining room of a house in a city, kunyari, a 9-year-old child, itong mga scenario, sits in front of his laptop, di ba, engaging, nagkaklase ng Zoom or Google Meet. Next to him is his little sister, slightly younger, on her new tablet with earphones on, attentively listening to her English teacher. All her 15 classmates are connected as well. At the same time naman, a 10-year-old boy miles away is taking turns with his 5 other siblings to use only their only tablet. Yung mga iba kasi isa lang ang gadget. Tingnan niyo itong mga ibang picture na nasa akin, right? Yung mga walang gadget, right? Ito, all around. Modular learning, ito, sa isang bahay. Ito ang modular learning. Sa isang bahay, ilan ang nag-aaral? Oh, dikit-dikit sila, right? See? Ang dikit-dikit yung mga bata. Hindi natin, okay? See? This is online learning. Yan ang itsura sa mga tahanan. Lalo na yung mga walang, internet, right? See? Labo-labo sila dyan. Lalo na yung mga bahay, masusikip, right? So, is there a crisis, okay, in education sa Philippines? Okay? So, yun, his teacher sometimes, kunyari, yung mga yan, yung nag-aaral na yan, nagko-connect via Zoom. Sometimes yung teacher nila sends them homework through WhatsApp, but iba naman sa kanila, they can only access it at night through their father's smartphone kasi wala naman silang laptop. So, kailangan antayin pa yung tatay umuwi para makapag-aral. Okay? So for example, most of the kids have not seen their classmates for a year, right? And have not even heard from some of them because they're rarely online. And of course, there's the connection issues in the Philippines, right? These dramatically different experiences are happening right now across the world in countries like Indonesia, Kenya, Colombia, and of course, our own country, all right, among others. This pandemic has generated suffering of an unthinkable scale across the globe, sabi ng World Bank, and it has been tremendously unequal when invading many aspects of human life, including education opportunities. Totoo naman kasi bumabalik tayo sa premise na 3 million students did not enroll this school year 2020 to 2021 because nga, unang-una, wala silang facilities to do that, wala silang capabilities to do that, right? Sabi ng World Bank, the organization predicts large increases in dropout rates, both in secondary and higher education. Nangyari na nga, right? And most likely, the total number of schooling years of this generation to be lower. So kayo na nga. Yung iba naman, aalis sandali. Kagaya ng anak ko, nagbabalita na mag-ano muna, wag mo nang mag-enroll habang hindi pa okay yung situation. I'm trying to talk him out of it because yun na nga, yung iba, pag gusto na lang magtrabaho. Pag nagtrabaho ng iba, tatama rin na bumalik sa eskwela, right? So, tama yung sinasabi ng World Bank, right? According to the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, ang UNESCO, as of March 17 this year, some 171 million pupils enrolled at pre-primary, primary, lower secondary, and upper secondary levels of education and tertiary education has been affected due to school and institution closures. Talaga naman yung tertiary level ang mas naapektuhan, right? This time last year, over 1 billion learners from all over the world had their education severely disrupted. Okay? So nagkaroon ng educational crisis, hindi lang sa Pilipinas, sa lahat. Okay? Tingnan nyo tong ratio na to. Okay? Let me show you something. Okay? There you go. Okay? Look at this. This is the ratio of the population of the people that affected by the COVID-19. Okay, missing school due to COVID-19, children and youth out of school due to COVID-19 and closure of the schools. 89% of the world's student population as of March last year. 267 million, and 2/3 of that are young women. Okay. 1.52 billion children and youth were severely affected, including 743 million girls, okay? NEET, not in education, employment or training. A person who is unemployed, not in school or vocational training, okay? Back in June last year, Philippine officials announced that tens of millions of children in the archipelago will not be allowed back to school until the corona vaccine was available, di ba? Sinabi ng Education Secretary Leonor Briones, teachers will have to use distance learning methods via the internet or yung TV broadcasts, kung pwede, mag-aral through TV and radio. Well, a year after COVID-19, pandemic sent to the Philippines into a months-long lockdown. Talaga naman, classrooms across the ASEAN member state remain empty and children are still stuck at home. A year after, they are still stuck at home. They have not opened, okay? Fearing youngsters could contract the virus and infect the elderly, President Rodrigo Duterte refused to lift the lockdown restrictions until vaccinations are widespread, okay? Sinabi niya dati, pag nagkaroon na ng vaccine, pwede nang buksan ng eskwela, pero of course, hindi nangyari yon. Ngayon, ang ni Presidente, pag nabakunahan ang karamihan, saka bubuksan ng eskwela, okay? So, a blended learning program involving online classes, printed materials, and lessons broadcast on television and social media was launched in October of last year. But with a shift from face-to-face learning to distance or to online learning, Philippine education now heavily relies on connectivity. At yan ang naging problema, right? Poor internet connections, right? Access to the internet is vital kasi, di ba? Talaga naman for both students and teachers. Unfortunately, okay, millions of Filipinos live in deep poverty and do not have access, di ba? Wala naman talagang kapasidad yung iba na magkaroon or wala silang computer, walang cellphone sa bahay, walang internet lalo na, which is also the key to viability ng online classes, di ba? Sabi dito sa article na to, I can't do it. It's difficult for me, sabi ni Andrick Serrano, for a fourth grader who lives inside a Manila slum shack with his street sweeper grandmother. Sabi niya, mas masaya sa eskwela eh. It's easier, mas madaling mag-aral sa eskwela. Totoo naman, kasi mas na-encourage kang mag-aral pag meron kang mga kasamang ka mag-aral. Tingnan nyo na lang itong situation na to, oh. Oh, paano ka naman makakaaral ng ganyan? Right? Oh, so isang bahay. Diyos mio, nag-aabang yung iba habang nag-aaral yung isang kapatid. Tapos kung isa lang ang gadget nyo, pasa-pasa kayo, right? Pasa-pasa kayo ng gadget, antayin mo muna. Yun na nga, kung ang schedule ng klase nyo pareho, kasi isa lang computer nyo, kahit na ba hindi kayo sa depressed slum area, problema rin, right? So yan ang naging crisis ng ating education. Not lang sa Philippines, but in a lot of countries, mga third world countries, also like us ang situation, okay? An Economic Policy Research Institute, EPRI, report published last December titled The Impact of COVID-19 Crisis on Households in the National Capital Region of the Philippines. Sabi nitong article, na report na na-publish, it revealed na ang mga magulang tsaka guardians, ang pinaka-biggest concern nila is the switch to remote learning. At saka yun na nga kasi, nagkaroon tuloy ng added responsibility ng mga magulang na lalo na yung mga modular education or even nga yung online na may mga laptop or internet or wifi. Yung magulang ang nagbigyan ng responsibilidad na turuan yung mga anak or supervise yung pag-aaral ng anak online. But see, what if if you're both working na parents, right? Or even if yung mommy rin na nasa bahay, kagaya ng mga picture na yan. Paano kung hindi marunong nga or hindi educated yung magulang? Kung yung teachers nga, we had to train them to do online learning and stuff. Teachers na nga yun. Ano pa kaya yung mga magulang na hindi nakapag-aral? Paano nila ipapastol o paano nila i-supervise yung mga anak nila, right? Okay. Surveyed respondents expressed varied concerns regarding online learning, including money for phone load. Ayun na nga, yung iba na data ang ginagamit sa cellphone nila para mag-aral. Tsaka nga, the same time, yun nga, di ba yung pinakita ko dati, walang mga signal sa ibang parts ng country, umaakit sa bundok para magka-signal, para mag-aral, or yung isang picture ko na ano talaga, sige, kunin ko ulit. Yung bata, tingnan nyo kung saan siya nag-aaral. Okay, tinanggal ko dito, but let me get it back, okay? Where was this one? It's very sad because yun nga, yung connectivity ang concern. Where is it? Wait a minute, okay? Let me just, well, never mind. Yun yung signal, naghahanap ng signal sa nicho, sa cemetery siya nakakuha ng signal, yung bata na nakaupo sa coffin, sa nicho habang nag-aaral online. Nagdoon lang siya may signal, you know? So, kailangan gumawa ng mga paraan para magka-signal. Tsaka yun na nga, kung wala kang pangbili ng load para mag-online ka, right? So, yun na nga, concerns regarding online learning included money for phone load, lack of gadgets, bad internet, difficulty understanding lessons taught online. The parents' lack of time to spend with their children on schoolwork. Kasi nga, kung parehong magulang mo nagtatrabaho, inability for children to focus during online classes. Yun na nga dahil maraming distractions. Pwede kang maglaro ng video games, mag-Netflix, mag-Facebook. And ang diyan, yung parents' lack of familiarity with the lessons. Dahil hindi naman sila teacher, tsaka hindi nila alam yung matagal ng panahon na nag-aral sila noong elementary or yung mga, tsaka iba na yung mga subjects ngayon. Iba na rin talaga. My son keeps telling me, Mom, science is different now or whatever, math is different now. Hindi mo siya matuturo kasi hindi mo nga naintindihan yourself, right? Other than that, UNICEF also noted that since the schools shut down, enrollments have dropped by more than 1 million in the Philippines. Talaga, 3 million nga di ba? COVID-19 affected all school systems in the world. But dito sa Pilipinas, it seemed worse, sabi ni UNICEF Education Chief E.C. Feingold. Okay? Experts also worry that many students are falling even further behind. And those that have dropped out might not come back to resume their education. Ayun na nga yung sinabi ko kanina. Yung iba, di ba? Kasi nowadays, hindi kagaya ng mga nung araw, pag hindi ka nakapag-college, hindi ka makakapagtrabaho. Nowadays, merong mga online jobs specifically like call centers and teaching online English na tumatanggap ng mga undergrads. Basta like yung online English, basta marunong ka mag-English at magbasa ng mga lessons in English, pwede ka maging teacher. Hindi ka na kailangan mag-graduate ng education para ka maging teacher nowadays. Bless you kasi naman na nagsisneeze na yan. And yun nga, yung mga call center, undergrads, tinatanggap. So, pag nagtrabaho na sila, baka hindi na sila bumalik sa pag-aaral, hindi na matapos yung pag-aaral. Moreover, classroom closures also leave children at greater risk for sexual violence, teenage pregnancy, and recruitment by armed groups. Ano ba yan? NPA na naman to. Sabi nitong si Fane Gould. The Philippine Business for Education, or PBED, has urged the government to take the lead in building an education system that Filipino learners deserve. One that realizes their full potential. Okay? Diba? Nako, we went through that hurdle last year, and I hope it's improved now. And of course, having a son that is doing online education, I keep tabs of it in this way, okay? Earlier this year, yung nonprofit organization also called on the government and other stakeholders to stem the learning crisis now, as it says that protracted school closures and uncertainty in the safe and equitable reopening of our schools will further worsen the learning losses. Totoo nga eh. Yung interest sa pag-aaral magwe-wane, diba? Magfa-fade. Especially for the 2.7 million unenrolled K-12, kindergarten to grade 12, students this school year. Grabe, no? We have yet to see a clear plan to bring our students back to school safely, sabi ng PBED. In a recent publication in its website, the PBED also warned that Filipino students are losing thousands of pesos in projected annual future earnings due to prolonged school closures caused by the COVID-19. Okay? So ano nga talaga yan, right? Is the pandemic destroying the Philippine education? Hope not, right? Pero yun na nga, there are more school dropouts in this pandemic. Right? It's true. I mean, sad to say, but yeah. Kasi nga, education plays a vital role in the economic development of a country as it increases the capacity and ability of people to be more productive economically, right? Every child, even those living in poverty, in war-torn areas, or those living with disabilities, everyone has a right to education, right? As stated by ito sa Asian Post ulit, yung Save the Children, a leading humanitarian organization for children, education is the route out of poverty for many people talaga. Kaya nga, kita nyo naman itong mga pictures na to na kahit na mahirap sila talaga, ini-endeavor nila mag-aral kahit through modular or kung may mga cellphones sila through the cellphones kasi yan ang isip nila talaga, yan ang hope nila for the future, makaahon sa kahirapan. Dahil na, excuse me, ang magulang hindi nakapag-aral pero tinawid-tawid nila talaga para ang mga anak nila makapag-aral para makapagtapos, right? It gives them a chance to gain the knowledge and skills needed to improve their lives, okay? Southeast Asian nations have made numerous efforts and plans in order to improve the education systems and standards, okay? Yung Prime Minister, ang Premier ng Thailand, si Prayut Chan-o-cha, has promised first-rate education as a way for the kingdom to become a developed country by 2036. Whereas fellow ASEAN member state Indonesia naman vows to build a world-class education system by 2025. Sana all, diba? Sana tayo din. The governments of Cambodia and Laos are also aware that education standards must be prioritized and improved if their economies are to shift from low-cost, low-skilled manufacturing. Sabi ni David Hutt in his article entitled Confronting Southeast Asia's Big Education Challenge. Okay? According to the 2019 ASEAN Key Figures report, all 10 Asian member states have made significant progress in ensuring primary education enrollment, with an enrollment rate of more than 90% in 2017. As for the enrollment rate for secondary education, almost all Southeast Asian countries ay naka-experience ng increase in the last decade. A significant increase of more than 30% was recorded sa Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, including the Philippines. Now, nevertheless, the report notes that there is still room for improvement as the net enrollment rate in secondary education is still below 80% in some ASEAN member states. Unfortunately, ang coronavirus crisis has severely impacted education systems around the world as millions of children and students are now out of school because of the shuttered institutions or because of the shutdowns. Towards the end of March last year, when most countries had introduced COVID-19 preventive measures, over 1 billion students worldwide were affected. Okay? Hindi sila nag-enroll. Although some countries have reopened the schools. The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO, estimates that more than 500 million learners are still affected by the pandemic. Okay? As a result ng school closures, many institutions are now offering online learning to their students, right? Unfortunately, hindi lahat have the ability to opt for this. Okay? Which then highlights the digital education divide, yung sinabi ko kahapon. In many developing and least developed countries, doon nagkaroon ng digital divide. Because nga, walang kapasidad, walang capability, walang pera na bumili ng computer, walang pera para magkaroon ng internet connection or even pambili ng load. So, nagkaroon talaga ng digital divide. Okay? There is a call for global education emergency. Alright? Sabi ni Henrietta Fore, Executive Director ng United Nations Children's Fund or UNICEF, she said that the disruption to schools caused by the pandemic is a global education emergency. Totoo naman talaga. Education should be prioritized talaga Sa ibang bansa kasi, yun, priority education Sa atin, yung budget, di ba? Yung sinabi ko kahapon, kinat pa nga yung budget ng DepEd. Hello there, Tita Agnes. Good morning. I miss you, Tita Agnes. I also miss naalala ko yung niluto mong dinuguan. Masarap. Very good. Thank you, Tita Agnes, for always supporting. And hello to Tita Pri and the Maniago family and the Lakap family. Okay? So we were talking about, the closing of schools for prolonged periods of time is devastating. It had devastating consequences sa ating mga anak. Okay? They became more exposed to physical and emotional violence. Tsaka yun nga kasi nasa bahay, at saka yung mga news na nababasa or yung mga nakikita sa social or even sa TV, their mental health was affected or is affected. They are more vulnerable na to child labor, sexual abuse, and are less likely to break out of the cycle of poverty pag wala silang education. Ang recent survey pa ng United Nations Population Fund at saka ng UNICEF revealed na ang ilang number of students from poor communities sa Malaysia's capital city, Kuala Lumpur, and its surrounding areas returning to the classroom is dropping at an alarming rate. See? Sa Malaysia, hindi nag-i-enroll. Right? Children have returned to school. Yet, 7% of upper secondary age children, 9% for boys, in these families reported not returning to schools. Mas maraming lalaking ayaw mag-aral, no? The study found that 1 out of 5 respondents said that their children had lost interest in school or are not motivated to go to school. Totoo naman yan. While cost was also found to be the biggest factor contributing to the issue. Yun na nga, yun na naman ako. Yung online education, sana rin nakiayon yung mga eskwela na bigyan ng discount man lang yung pag-online education. Medyo binawas-bawasan yung tuition, lalo na yung sa mga mahal na eskwelahan, no? Kasi yung magulang ang kaakibat niya sa pagtuturo o pag-aaral ng anak, right? Sa amin na punta responsibilidad, pero sa sweldo naman ng teacher nandun. But anyway, so, yun na nga, cost was also found to be the biggest factor contributing to the issue. 1 in 2 respondents said that they struggled paying for tuition fees, while 50% found it difficult to provide pocket money for the kids. Ako nga kahit na online education yung anak ko, binibigyan ko pa rin siya ng allowance para yun na nga, para ma-feel pa rin niya na nag-aaral siya sa eskwela. Yung ganong responsibility. Fine, hindi na siya nagko-commute to go to school, but then, yung hours that he allots to study, binibigay ko pa rin yung the same situation sa kanya para ma-feel niya na nag-aaral siya talaga. Like yun, yung paggamit ng aircon. Sabi ko sa anak ko, kung mag-aaral ka, or may lesson, pwede ka mag-aircon, right? Kasi alam nyo naman, ang init, tsaka sa pandemic na to, lahat nag-script, nag-tightening the belts. But, tsaka yun, binibigyan ko pa rin siya ng baon. It's a little bit less than what he would get before, because before, naka-impute din yung pamasahe niya. Although sa kanto lang ng where I used to live yung eskwela niya, malapit lang. Pero yun, nag-grab siya before because wala naman kaming kotse. My son used to take Grab or whatever, commute, whatever way. Basta binibigyan ko siya ng transportation allowance. So, yun na lang ang binawas ko. Pero yung living allowance niya, like kunyari bumibili siya ng pagkain, kahit na kumakain siya sa bahay, meron pa rin siyang allowance. Para lang ma-feel ng anak ko na talaga siyang nag-aaral sa eskwela. Right? At ma-motivate. Okay? So, according to local media data last September, okay, the Philippines is also reporting a drop in school enrollments for the current academic year, which is nga itong nangyari, with a 9% decline compared to the school year 2019 to 2020. That's before pandemia, obviously, okay? For now, we consider these 2.3 million as dropouts. Totoo naman. What we don't want to happen is to have a permanent dislocation of children, and instead of studying, they would permanently just go to work. Yun na nga yun talaga. Yan ang sabi ni Sherwin Gatchalan. A similar situation can also be observed in many other developing nations, okay? Room to Read, an organization focused on girls' education and children's literacy, conducted a survey of 28,000 girls across Bangladesh, Cambodia, India, Laos, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Tanzania, and Vietnam with disheartening results. Ang resulta is 42% ng mga babae na-survey reported a decline in their family's income amid the pandemic, and that 1 in 2 girls surveyed was at risk of dropping out of school. Okay, the worrying trend is that the reopening of schools doesn't automatically mean that all children will go back to schools. Sabi ni Francisco Benavides, a regional education advisor at UNICEF East Asia and Pacific. Sabi na, the pandemic has a high economic impact for the region. If girls don't have access to learning opportunities, it's very likely that the families and society will be less able to adapt to economic shock. All right? So moving right along, okay, a year after that, that's the situation in online education sa Philippines and most of the world. Pero yun na nga, we are in this, okay? But we just have to know how to cope up with it and how to strive. Studying, okay? So I was giving tips kung paano ka magiging effective ang pag-online studying mo, okay? Tapusin ko lang yung aking mga tips, right? Okay. So, what happened to my tips, right? So yesterday, we talked about that. So what are the things that we need to do? We said you have to, time management. No, nandun na tayo sa time management, right? Okay, what else? Hold on a second. There should be applied learning, okay? The new creed is that practice is more important than theory. To be successful, okay, and be in demand, I mean, like sa trabaho, right? Potential employers are not interested in what applicants know about using social media for business development. Rather, employers want to see that possible hires know how to put it into practice. So yung mga nag-aaral at saka tapos of course after online education, yung mga graduate maghanap ng trabaho, they have to use applied learning, okay? Kasi sa India, one of the most competitive labor markets and also a market with a huge potential for online learning, in-implement nila yung applied learning. The applied approach with a huge potential for online learning, okay? The applied approach in-impute nila sa kanilang educational system, okay? And its new national education policy. In education, this means that more courses are based on the principle of learning by doing, all right? Applied learning means learning by doing rather than studying theory. Yun na nga yun eh. Then maybe doing 1 or 2 practical exercises, right? So it is more important. Practice is more important than theory, okay? To be successful and kunyari sa trabaho mo, you should just not know stuff. You should be able to do stuff, right? Very good. As ano pa, high-speed learning, all right? Users of educational courses, okay, Pay close attention to the duration of the courses. Yung nga, kung ganong katagal na it takes to finish something. Right now, like even sa Amerika, diba, you can take a nursing course. Yung iba nagna-nurse kesa mag-doktor kasi nga mas mabilis. Nakakatulong ka rin naman sa mga tao for being a nurse. But of course, sa pag-doktor ka, mas mataas yung magiging sweldo mo dahil nakakapag-command ka ng professional fee na higher than a nurse, okay? But you see, many people prefer to take 3 short courses in quick succession rather than a long one, okay? A 2014 study found that 94% of online students preferred shorter educational modules and 65% thought that masyadong information was packed into each module. Yun na nga yung naaalala ko, yung anak ko nag-aaral last year eh. Sa isang araw, pinapabasa sila ng 200, 400 pages, right? Tapos to the week, may school project na kailangan ma-submit in a few days na kailangan nilang i-work out ng grupo. Pero basta yun nga, yung mga module dapat, hindi masyadong mahahaba, right? High-speed learning makes it possible to better tailor education to a personal lifestyle and not get involved in longer studies. Ito pa, there should be a focus on improving skills, okay? Dapat mag-focus ng paano mag-adapt ng mag-acquire ng more skills, right? We should focus our curriculum or lessons or subjects on helping the students to improve skills. Colleges and universities used to give students a broad perspective to shape their worldview, but didn't fully satisfy the demand for hands-on skills. Nowadays, hands-on skills matter, right? Like I said, di ba? Itong pandemic na to, it gave rise to a lot of new jobs, a lot of new careers na yung online teaching na hindi rini-require na may PhD ka, hindi na kailangan na nag-masters ka para makapag-train at magturo online, right? Now that the complexity of the tasks is changing at the speed of light, we do not have that much time on our hands, okay? Furthermore, last year, 2020, saw a rapid growth in the demand for soft skill courses, okay? The demand for some courses increased by 4,000%. Imagine nyo yan, right? What users want is to quickly improve certain skills, quickly learn a new skill, quickly transition or move on from their lost jobs that they were going to new jobs and new careers. Okay? Naghanap sila ng mga courses na madali silang ma-equip at matututo at makapagbago ng kanilang trabaho. Alright? Okay? Ano pa? Meron naman dyan tinatawag na bite-sized learning, okay? It has been shown that we are better at learning little by little, okay? Ayan talaga naman. Yung mga ibang tao talaga mabilis na mag-aral pag unti-unting information. Kasi sometimes yun na nga, yung a barrage of information, masyadong mahaba yung module, yung mga lessons, hindi maintindihan, right? A stack of books you still have to read puts enormous pressure on you, right? Yung pag nag-aaral ka, kita mo, oh my God, 300 pages more to go, kailangan kong basahin, right? It puts enormous pressure on the student. And learning in small portions is better suited to the modern lifestyle natin ngayon. Pabilisan na quick, right? Quick thinking then, okay, quick learning, right? Employers also, ang mga empleyado, ang mga nag-hire ng trabaho, also see the benefits of microlearning Companies like Google and Walmart, okay, sa mundo, American companies, have already started offering short training as part of their compensation package. Add this to the fact that such education is available to all users. It is cheaper and gives immediate practical results. Totoo naman right? Yung mga yung mga online training, online na nakikita nyo, yung mga short courses na nakita nyo, kahit na Metro Deal may short courses. Pero useful sila, right? Yung lalo na yung mga legit, you will learn much from it. Walang iniwan yan sa sa mga tutorial sa YouTube, right? Bakit madami? Bakit nagbi-million views yung mga hacking of whatever? Hacking like this, right? Kitchen hacks, cooking hacks, whatever hacks. That's a part of learning and education. Libre pa, right? Doon sila nanonood, doon sila naniniwala kasi agad silang natututo, right? in shorter time, you're able to cope, right? Add this to the fact that education is available not to all users, and it gives immediate practical results. That is why microeducation has become the new standard of modern education. O ano pa? Ano pang tip natin sa pag-online na pag-aaral? Kailangan merong flexible training formats, right? Don't you think so? Lahat tayo ay iba-iba. Lahat tayo ay may uniqueness. We are all different. At ito ay key sa progress ng isang society, okay? Some like to do homework, while others prefer listening to lectures, right? Yung iba naman talaga, gusto pinanonood, right? There are those who prefer classes every day, right? At certain times of the day. And there are others for whom learning is an excuse for positive procrastination. Ayun talaga, yung manyana habit. And that's fine. Sabi ng mga researchers, they identified 4 major aspects of flexibility sa education. Ano-ano to? There are 4 aspects daw ng flexibility in education. Ano to? Time. Alright? Content. Entry requirements and delivery. Alright? Modern education means adapting and offering more flexible courses that are available during the time slot that is convenient to the user, diba? Okay? In a format that is also convenient para dun sa gumagamit ng platform na yon. Tsaka sa devices that are convenient for the user. Yun na nga. Some people learn, yun na nga. Okay sila classroom situation, okay sa kanila face-to-face, gusto nila, kailangan nilang makita yung teacher, pero yun na nga, iba, in this pandemic, okay mag-aral through a tablet, through a desktop, okay, or nanonood ng TV para mag-aral, or nakikinig ng radyo, iba't iba, right? Pero ang bottom line is, it has to be convenient and flexible and adaptable to the user, right? Why is it important to know the current trends in education? It will enable you to adapt your corporate training programs to modern requirements and help them be more attractive to your employees, di ba? Kung employer. If you're thinking about your own education, the trends will show you that contemporary education can be agile, convenient, and effective. Okay? So, yan ang sinasabi ko tungkol sa pag-aaral, right? Okay? Yan ang mga major trends online that we are experiencing and what we have to watch out for itong taon na to, right? So, in a nutshell, right? Ang bottom line is importante ang internet at connectivity sa online education at distance learning in this pandemic, right? But sabi ng SWS nga majority of Filipinos still worry about catching the coronavirus. Kaya yan nga, yung presidente din natin, kaya hindi pa mabukas-bukas yung eskwela, right? Pero ito, sabi, this is a Manila Times News, no? Nung 2 days ago, okay? Education think tank bats for low institutionalizing online learning. Sabi sa Manila Times, okay? Sabi nila, okay, it said that the presence of qualified teachers, adept in software and hardware, and the cost of gadgets and internet connection remain to be a major hindrance to online learning. Totoo naman kasi nga, tinatrain pa rin natin mga teachers ngayon, right? Tsaka yung tinatry pa natin provide ng computers, ng gadgets, yung mga mag-aaral, lalo na sa mga deeply poor areas, okay? Yung 2015 study by Mangkao, proper assistance must be given by universities in implementing new pedagogies. Okay, sabi ni Mangkao. For instance, sa blended learning, standard templates, class schedules, and online routes must still be developed. Okay? Okay? So ang ibig sabihin niyan talaga, no? We're still trying to improve the online learning education system dito sa Pilipinas. But, of course, we are hopeful that it's getting better and it will get better and be more useful para sa lahat, right? Kasi the use of smartphones in class and after class was also explored in this study. The use of low-cost tablets wherein online and offline course-related activities were implemented to an intact class was piloted last semester ng last year. It found out that learning became enjoyable with a tablet because of many useful apps that could optimize learning. So dapat na, okay, yun pa, maghanap ng budget para mag-provide ng mga tablets or computers or yun na nga, smartphones, maging affordable or mag-offer sila ng something para makapag-aral yung mga bata more efficiently and effectively. Right? So, this has been our topic for this week, online education or the education system in the Philippines ngayong pandemic, right? Of course, the education has been really affected by the pandemic. And sinabi pa nga, Philippine education was in crisis like nung kunwento ko na isang araw. Kasi nga, enrollment dropped by 25%, and that's true, okay? But we are hopeful that things will get better, of course, as we are always hopeful of waking up to a brand new day na mas better na ang situation, okay? Is there life after lockdown? We won't know it yet, right? Because right now, okay, we don't see this ending anytime soon, okay? While guidelines on how schools were open were clear, but okay, and the universities are still closed. I mean, the schools are still closed. We have to strive and thrive in this pandemic situation as far as our kids are concerned, the students are concerned. We are so ang importante lang talaga dyan, of course, yung mindset ng ating mag-aaral. Ang importante dyan is yung kanilang interest sa pag-aaral masustain, right? Because naapektuhan nga talaga. But thank you so much for those who joined me today. We talked about how the education system in all over the world was affected by the pandemic. And it also caused a digital gap between rich and poor, sad to say, right? Because because of the unavailability of facilities to facilitate online education. Pero ginagawa ng paraan na yan ng mga gobyerno because the governments really should be the ones more concerned to giving priority to the education of its people, right? Bigyan pa ng karampatang budget, imbis na bawasan yung budget, dagdagan nyo po para sa maka-facilitate to online education at distance learning. So this has been Buhay Online, and we have talked about how education is affected by this pandemic and how the system has developed yung online learning and distance learning, how it is compared to last year. All right. Of course, it's getting better, and of course, more technologies are being used to implement such a transition. And we are looking forward to better curriculum, better teaching. All right, better system. Saka yun na nga, pero yung pa rin kawawang magulang pa rin ang involved dito sa self-study or homeschooling ng mga anak. Pero wala lang, ano lang talaga yan, tulong-tulong lang tayo, really. The parents have a major role in this online or distance learning. Coming from experience, right, it's not an easy route, but it's part of how we strive and thrive in this pandemic situation. We are a resilient people, and we can bounce back from this, lahat. Right? Itong pandemic na to has given us a lot of hope and faith in each other, not just as a nation, but in mankind itself. Diba? Naging mindful tayo sa needs ng ibang tao rin, and tulong-tulong talaga ang lahat to develop yung vaccine or to develop technology to make education online better, yung paggamit ng AI, maghanap ng budget para ma-improve yung facilities ng pag-aaral ng mga ating mga anak. Distance learning, online learning, or whether it's modular, okay? So, for those who have questions, please feel free to field your questions through the Broad Streamcast Communicators Facebook page or through my personal email, jbautista@gmail.com, or you can message me on Facebook, okay? Pa-friend kayo sa akin sa Facebook. And of course, for those who miss episodes like the live stream episodes, you can always go back to our YouTube channel, which is the Broad Streamcast Communicators YouTube channel. Panoorin yung mga nakalipas naming episodes. Thank you very much. This has been Buhay Online, that talked about online education and distance learning in this pandemic in the world and in the Philippines. Maraming salamat po. It's Friday, so it's my last day of broadcasting this week. And I hope you have a safe and restful weekend, okay? I will try and have a weekend too this week. Pero please keep safe, okay? Hindi porke nabakunahan na po, pwede na kayo mag-party-party at hindi mag-social distancing, okay? Huwag niyo pong kalimutan, mag-wear pa rin ng mask. So, faith, hope, and love to everyone, please. God bless us all. And thank you so much, and have a good lunch po, okay? Tita Agnes, thank you ulit, Tita Agnes. And belated happy birthday to Tito Ariel Lakap yesterday, okay? Thank you very much. And Buhay Online po, Jaye Bautista, signing off for this week. Thank you.
Inyong natunghayan at napakinggan ang mga makabagong pamamaraan sa mundo ng online sa pamamagitan pa rin ng Broad Streamcast Communicators. Hanggang sa muli, maraming salamat po.